Well, hello everybody, it's Sharon here. I'm from the blog I Restore Stuff, and welcome to another live on the Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint page. Now, I'm an Australian retailer for Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint, if you can't already tell by my accent. I'm just going to jump over here to my laptop, make sure I can see the live and see all your comments coming through, because sometimes I don't see them on the phone. So if you're joining me for the first time, you have not used Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint before, let me know that. And if you're watching the replay, welcome. So grateful to have you here. There we go. I can kind of see where we're at, and I'll be able to see your comments coming through. So today we're going to be talking about using Miss Mustard Seed Milk Paint as a stain on raw timber, raw wood. Hi Mary Beth. Thanks so much for joining and for commenting. Let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to know. Just say hello in the comments. And if you are from Australia, I would love to know that too, because I have a prize that I'll show you in a little while that I'm going to give out to an Aussie winner, because I'm all the way over here in Australia, a little bit far to ship it to the USA. So I've got a special prize for my Aussie watchers today. So I'll pick them at the end. We're talking today about using Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint as a stain. So if you want to use Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint, as many of you know, you might have watched some of the lives here with our other milk paint retailers, showing you different ways to mix the paint as a paint, as you would normally use to paint furniture. Today I'm going to be talking about using it as a stain. So with a paint, you would mix it in equal parts, so equal parts water to powder. And I know people have talked about that intimidation factor of, oh, but you've got to mix it. So I know, I totally get it. That's exactly where I was many years ago when I was first using, well, it's not that many, but I was one of the first in Australia retailers to retail it over here. So I've been using it even a bit before that. When Marion first came out with the product, I would import it by my sister-in-law. I'd get her to buy some and send it over. So it's a lot of fun to use. Hi Pat, hi Chris, thanks so much for watching. So yeah, I've been using it for a while, and I remember my very first time of using Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint, and you know, it comes in the packets. So it comes in these powdered packets with a resealable seal. If you're a furniture painter, you might want to just empty it all into a jar for ease of, you know, scooping and that kind of thing. But I remember thinking, oh, it's a little bit intimidating. I kind of put off using it. I had the packet sitting there for ages. Then when I did, can I just tell you, I was sold. Like, yep, I can do this. Anyone can do this. Hi, Julie. Hi, Gina. Awesome to see you. Yeah, so glad I did. So we're not going to be mixing it as a paint today. We're going to be mixing it as a stain. So when you're mixing it as a stain, and you can do this with any water-based paints, is you add water to thin it down a little bit and create your stained look. It can create just such a beautiful finish on raw wood, and depending on the wood that you have. So today I've got a couple of just ordinary pine boards that are just scraps, you know, so we're practicing on some scrap wood. If you want to try and experiment with milk paint a little bit, just use a scrap board or just something that it doesn't matter if it gets ruined. So that's the way I do it, is I practice until I get that look that I really want on my raw wood, and then you can always change it up a little bit, add a little bit more if you want an extra layer. So let me just start with, let's mix up some curio, which is Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint's brown colour. So it creates a lovely wood stain to make your wood look a nice rich chocolate. If you are from Australia and watching live, I have a prize, guys. Let me just show you over here. Hang on, I'll bring it. It's a bit easier. So if you're from Australia and watching, you could be a prize winner today. As you can tell by my accent, I'm way over down under if many of you are from the USA. But if you're from Australia, give me a wave and let me know what city or state you're from. I've got an apron, milk paint sample in the colour of your choice, I Restore Stuff pen. So if you missed it, I'm from the blog I Restore Stuff. My name's Sharon Hankins. And also Marion's home design doodle book. Now this is full of fun, inspirational pages where you can, make over your home. You want to go room by room. There's places to draw, journal, doodle, all of the things. So those are the fun prizes on offer today. Stay tuned right to the end because I'll be picking an Aussie winner for that prize pack. Yay, Karen's from New South Wales. Karen's watching. Yes, thank you guys for letting us know. Okay, so the colour I'm starting with is Curio, which is a brown. I'm going to zoom you down here. It's just me today, so I've got the camera zooming down for you. You can see I'm just working on this board here. I've got other boards to go with. So when you're using a stain, you want to water it down a little bit. I'm just going to use a jar, clear jar, or you can use any kind of container. I want to probably put my water in first. Now I like to add my water first so that the powder sits on top and the powder doesn't get stuck in those grooves down the bottom. Now I only need a little bit for this board, so I'm going to use a whole scoop. So usually when I'm making a stain, it's about 1 part or 1 scoop of powder versus 3 scoops of water. So because I don't need a lot, I'm just going to make a little bit. So I just need 1 scoop and then I'm going to pick about 1/3 of a scoop. It's really all just, estimations, guys. So if you were making a paint, remember, it's equal parts. But because I'm making a stain, I want lots more water to create a washed look over my wood board. Now how I prepared this board, you can see some little tape marks and things. It's had nails in it, it's had all sorts of scratches and dings. Actually, it's still got some nails in it. Oh my goodness. So I've actually hammered and dinged it some more to create even more distressing, because you'll see that when you're mixing a stain, it'll go into the grooves and sit into those little bits and pieces. All right, I'm going to get my wire whisk here. You can use a stirring stick or you can use a whisk, but I'm just going to mix that so easily, and it's quite watery. So when you're mixing milk paint as a paint, you would want to see a dribble coming off your whisk there, like pouring cream. Excuse me. But because I'm making it as a stain, you're going to get no drips. It's just so runny and watery. But that's what we want. So guys, if you have any questions about milk paint, please pop them in the comments. And also in the description of this live at the top, I've popped a link where you can go to find Miss Mustard Seed's milk paint, your local retailer. If you're in Australia, you can get it from my website, irestorestuff.com. Okay, so that's mixed up. I'm just going to pop that in the water to rinse it off. And choose a brush. Any brush will do. So just going to grab one of these Klingon brushes. It's just a furniture painting brush. You can apply stains this is paint, so you can apply it either with a cloth or with a brush. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to wipe off the excess on the side of the jar so I don't get it all on there, too much. And then we're just going to simply wipe it across. Now it looks like it's got some kind of treatment on the surface of this pine board, but I want to get that stain right into those little divots and gouges and cracks. Just going to go across the board. And I'm going to do some fun things today. I thought Christmas, I said the word Christmas. Yes, guys, I said Christmas is coming sooner than you think. Hey, it's 2020 and the year hasn't quite gone as anyone planned. But in some ways it feels like it's gone really slow, am I right? And then other ways it seems like it's gone fast. I thought we'd try some fun Christmassy colours because, I don't know about you, but if you have a shop booth or if you paint furniture to sell, if you paint signs to sell, as a retailer, Christmas, stocking for Christmas needs to start pretty soon. So I thought we'd try some fun stains in some Christmas colours. Have you ever stained with red or green? Well, let me show you that today. Okay, so what we need to do is just let that dry. Now, milk paint dries really quickly. just going to pop my brush. I thought I had brought a plastic bag, but no, I'll just pop that in a wet cloth in case I need to use it after. I had a question here. How do I use milk paint over a piece that has been previously painted? So Mary Beth's asked, how can you do that over a piece that's already been painted? And, oh, we have a reply already by Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint. That could be Chris. Lightly sand it to knock off the shine. That's correct. Yeah, so if you do have a piece that's already been painted, you knock it off, knock the shine off. It could have a sealer on it. If it has a wax on it, you may even need a solvent to dissolve that wax and make sure it's all clean. All right, so here's our board. If you've just joined, I'm Sharon from the blog I Restore Stuff, and I'm a Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint retailer here in Australia. So this is wet right now. We need to wait for that to dry. Meanwhile, I've got a couple of other pieces to show you. Now I did paint this one using, now we're talking about Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint as a stain if you've just joined us now. So I've stained this board using the colour Artissimo. I'm not sure if you can tell, but it's kind of got a bluish tinge to it. You can still see the raw wood underneath. Now this is dried, but because I don't have a sealer on it yet, it's not giving that depth of the timber, but you wait. In just a few minutes I'm going to seal that with a wax, and we'll try hemp oil on one side and see how that turns out. But just imagine what you could use this for, the backing of signboards, or you might have a furniture piece that you want to just do a little differently than the ordinary brown staining. You could use typewriter, the black, as a stain. I'll also show you ironstone, which is the white colour, as a stain. All right, now I thought we'd get into, this is boxwood. Now that's a bit light. It's not really dark. So if you're finding that the stain you're using, you've put it on, but it's kind of looking a little yellowy, it's not the true green that I wanted. And although it's dry, I think I'm going to put one more coat on that. So let me get my boxwood that I prepared earlier, and I'll just zoom you down here and I'll put another coat of the boxwood on there. Just have to grab another brush. And if you do have any questions, pop them in the comments. And if you're from Australia, let me know, because I've got a prize to give away at the end of our live. You can find Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint. Why don't I do one coat, a second coat just on half of the board to show you what a second coat might do to just create a little bit more, you know, a deeper colour in the stain. So we're creating a stain today with milk paint. And did you know you can just have so much fun with all of the colours to create a stain. So now it's still wet, so when that dries it still will be chalky like this side, but we'll find that it's a bit darker. So that'll be great. All right, keeping with the Christmassy theme. Hi Rachel. Rachel, you're from Australia. You could be a winner of our prize today. Just keep watching. All right, so this is just a board I've just sanded back a little bit. It looks like it's ready for some stain. So I'm going to use some red that I've mixed up earlier. So this is the colour Tricycle. I'm getting my words mixed up. Guys, please correct me if I say the wrong colours and you know your milk paint colours. Let me know. So this is such a bright pigment in there that it actually took a long time to mix. So I've mixed this one earlier, but for the longest time that red pigment powder just sat on top of the water. So there are some colours, because we're talking about a natural product here, there are some of the pigments that take a little bit longer to mix in or just act a little differently than others. So it's a lot of fun to experiment with it, get your sample boards like this and just give it a go. All right, choosing another brush to just brush on, and remember I've created a stain here. I haven't used it as a paint. So paint is equal parts powder to water. Stain, 3 parts water, 1 part powder. Okay, so we just kind of rub that on. Look at that bright red as a stain. So as I'm painting, I like to use nice long strokes. Now if you were using this as paint or a stain, it doesn't matter. Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint is self-leveling. It is that's why, I mean, it is, because it's so thin, it really leaves 0 brush marks, and that's one of the first things that sold me on using it as a furniture paint. Now remember, we're using it as a stain right now, but as a paint, no brush strokes left in your piece. And I use nice long strokes, even it all out. Got a great big hole in there. I don't know what that's from. Okay, so this would make a great sort of signboard backing for a stenciled sign or something, if any of you are sign makers. I've just talked about before how Christmas is going to be here before we know it. Okay, so I'll give you a closer look at that. So you can still see the knots in the wood because I've created a stain using the Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint. So that's a red stain. Can you imagine that? And then it'll dry a little bit chalky. Then as we add the hemp oil or the, whatever finish we're going to put on it, like a wax or a sealer, it'll deepen that colour back to its true, nice, rich red colour again. So I think I'm finished with the red. I tell you, this side of my bench, let me just wander you over here. It looks like a bit of a science lab right going on. I've got all the dishes, all the paint things. Okay, now bringing you back to this board that I've done earlier with Artissimo as a stain. It sort of looks a little bit blue, but it's looking chalky. So we're going to now add a finish to that to show you how lovely it will be. Now, sometimes you'll find that when you wet a surface, it kind of opens up the grain. This is just a, what do you call this kind of board? Guys, help me out in the comments. It's just a plywood. That's the word, isn't it? Yeah, plywood. I always forget my words. Oh, there you go. All right, so I'm just trying to watch the comments at the same time. Yep, it's plywood. So sometimes when you add it as a stain, it'll open up the grains and it'll feel a little bit rough. So what we just need to do is just sand that off a tiny bit. Now I've got my sandy hand sanding glove here, which you can also get in Australia if you're watching on my website, irestorestuff.com. Just going to give that a light sand with a really light grit, like a 400 or something would be fine. And then just buff or wipe that back to make sure there's no, with my microfiber cloth, to make sure it's all smooth. So now we want to add either a bit of hemp oil, or we could use some beeswax or the clear wax, whatever you like. So right now I might do, just to show you a little bit of difference, the hemp oil will soak into the wood and kind of seals from the inside out. The wax penetrates the wood but sits on top as a nice surface that you can buff. Now I'm going to just add the hemp oil with, oh, I should have opened this earlier, guys. Didn't think about that. I've got one of these lids that's, nope, that's not going to work. I do have another hemp oil somewhere that I can grab really quickly. Talk amongst yourselves. Now, I'm just going to dab a bit on the cloth. Pop that over here. Just going to do it on one side first, so you can see that wood grain coming through. If you've just joined us, we are experimenting with Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint as a stain in all of the different colours. There's so many gorgeous colours to use as a stain. Now, if you were going to make a sign out of this, remember to don't add your wax or your finish until you've created your sign. So if you're going to be stenciling on that, stencil first on the chalky milk painted stained surface, then add your sealer once it's all finished. This is just an example board that I'm showing you today. There's hemp oil. I'll turn over my cloth and just use the other side with the wax. You can see the nice grain in there. See how that's showing a bluish tinge? It would look great even on furniture. Okay, the wax, you'll see that both sealers, they deepen the colour and they allow that wood to show through. You could also apply your wax with a brush. It's a nice flat surface, so I'm just going to apply it with my cloth. Remove any excess, and then we just let that sit for a minute and then buff the excess off. So you can see there's not a lot of difference between the hemp oil side and the waxed side. Let me just find a dry piece of the cloth. This is the wax side here. Now if I let that sit and don't do the buffing portion of it, the wax could feel a little bit tacky. You've got to make sure you don't have a lot of wax on your brush or on your cloth. Remove the excess, let it sit for a couple of minutes. Sometimes I'm a little bit impatient and I don't let it sit for as long as that. So right now I'm just going to buff it. So quick back and forward motion to buff the wax. And this side was the hemp oil, and I should get my pen and write that on so that I remember. Hemp oil and wax. If you're experimenting and you're doing this, even for your shop to show people, have a look at that. Wax on this side, hemp oil on this side. You can hardly tell the difference, but then, guys, you can add even more effects by adding a coloured wax. So can you imagine a little bit of white wax? Let's try that on the Artissimo. Remember, this is a colour Artissimo, the stain. Alrighty, just trying to see if I've missed any comments there. Let me grab a little bit of white wax and just add it. Let me see, my wax side was over here. So I'm just going to add a tiny bit of white wax to the end here to see an even different, another different effect that you can add there. So we've got bluish tinge, a bit of clear wax. We've added the white wax on the end there. You get all sorts of fun finishes using that, so it gives it a bit of a whitewash over blue effect. Just experimenting and having fun. Okay, so let's have a look now to see what's dried over here. We've got our blue Artissimo. Our red is still drying. We've got this brown Curio stain, which is almost dried. We could possibly go ahead and finish that to see what that going to look like, but I'll just let that dry a minute. And on this one, if you missed, I had done one coat of stain of boxwood on this side, and I've done 2 coats on this side, so that's still drying there. What I did want to show you also is, what if you've got an old piece of wood that's not this blonde coloured pine, it's dark kind of wood. Well, I happen to have a stool here that I painted in Miss Mustard Seed's milk paint, and I just went over the, you can see a lovely chippy look going on here, and I love the chippiness that you can get with Miss Mustard Seed's milk paint. I believe that's the colour Farmhouse White, could be ironstone, I can't remember, I painted it a long time ago, but I love the chippiness that's happening there. So on the top of the seat, I've just sanded that back. I just had some kind of old stain on there, but I wanted to show you today what you can do. It's actually a veneer, so it's not true wood, so these sides are a little bit different than the top. But I wanted to mix up some ironstone and show you how you can use white paint as a stain over the top of an old piece of wood that's dark, you know, to give it a bit of a lighter feel. Thank you, Midwest Cottage and Fimes. She's saying it's a perfect way to show all the possibilities that Miss Mustard Seed Milk Paint has to offer. It sure does. There's so many different possibilities and ideas. Oops, my camera keeps doing this bright white thing. All right, I'm just going to grab another one of my handy scoops. So remember, if you're doing paint, I feel like a teacher. If you're mixing as a paint, equal parts, 1 part powder, 1 part water. Today, we're mixing as a stain, so it's 1 part powder to 3 parts water. Okay, got that? Where's my wet scoop again? So I'll scoop you down here. Scoop you down. Okay. I'm going to use, let's see, I'll do 2 scoops of this. Just for fun. And so we're going to make a third of that. I'm just absolutely guessing, guys, but all you really need to do is make sure there's a bit of white powder in the water, right? So 3 parts water to 1 part paint. If you want more, you can always add more water. If you want it thicker, just add more paint powder. The other thing that you can mix it with, apart from a whisk or a spoon, is one of these little milk frothers. Just make sure you don't use it for your coffee milk anymore. Cassie says, I've only used it as a stain so far and I love it. I know, Cassie, isn't it wonderful? I love to use it and then just seal it. Instead of using some of those stains and finishes are really quite potent. The odour is really strong. They've got lots of chemicals in them, some of the stains that you get from the hardware store. So using this is such a nice natural way of finishing a piece of furniture. Okay, we've got in here, you can't see it because it's white on white, but that's the colour Ironstone, and I've made it as a stain wash so that I can show you how you can whitewash an old dark piece of timber. Using up all my brushes here. Here we go. There's a small one. Okay, see how we're going to do this. I think I'll have to lift it up a bit and I might have to put my stool on my lap. Okay, so I showed this just a minute ago if you've just joined us. It's Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint in like farmhouse white or something. Here we go. And here's my stain. So remember, it's watered down paint. Hopefully I'm not going to flick it everywhere. Just getting a little bit on the end of the brush from my creation here and just going to wipe it across here. Now if you get it too thick, more than what you need, we're going to drag that off. So I can't see this base here, so I'll just leave that for now. I can always do that later. We'll fix it up. Remember guys, it's just paint. You can always sand it back, start again if you make a mistake. So this is a fun little stool that I'm creating this whitewash on. And it did have something on the surface like an old stain, but I've removed that. Adding some Ironstone to the white to make it a bit of a whitewash look on top. You could even do this look with using white wax, Miss Mustard Seeds white wax. That gives a gorgeous finish as well. I'm not too worried about all the strokes and marks yet, because what I'm going to do is just wipe that off, wipe it back when I'm finished. So this effect, using this particular colour, the Ironstone, wouldn't work as well on our blonde wood that we were just using before in those other fun colours. If you've missed it, we have done boxwood and we've done some tricycle stain this morning. Well, I say this morning, it's morning in Australia, it's probably night where you guys are. What is the time over there? So we've done some Christmassy colours and then I did some Artissimo. But right now I'm showing you Ironstone. All right. This is feeling a little bit awkward back here. It's hard to do these things upside down. All right, so we've got that kind of colour going on there, and I just want to just wipe off the excess and let it sit in there. I'm just wiping it lightly and gently. I'll have to do those sides later because I can't quite see them for this purpose. Just wiping it gently. If you want to wipe more off, you can wipe more. Using a lint-free cloth. I think I just got paint under my arm. All right, wiping it back to give it that lovely. Now again, this will dry to a kind of a porous finish, a bit chalky. Turning it over and just wiping that, you kind of get some nice streaks going along the grain. Always work with the grain when you're staining. Then you go back this way. I'm trying to look at the camera to kind of judge how much more I need to wipe off. Can't see it very well here. and inside a bit. Gives it a lovely streaky grainy look. Kind of like the way it's a bit of a driftwood look. So that's one way that you can use the milk paint as a stain for a whitewash look. Now when that's finished, as I said, it will dry porous and chalky, so you will have to put a sealer over the top of that, and then it'll be beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so we'll just let that dry. I'll go back to my dried pieces over here. I wanted to mention too, let me see if I can show you over here. Oh, you can nearly see it. There's this gorgeous blue chest that I painted using Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint in some, I'll see if I can pour it right over there so you can see it. It's a gorgeous chest, and I've used a layered technique on that, and I'm just about to finish my, it's like a mini course, Milk Paint 101. So if you want to grab a hold of that soon-ish, you can sign up on my website to get my newsletter, and I'll be posting more about that soon. It's irestorestuff.com. You go there and you can sign up to my news, and I'll let you know when that is out. All right. This curio board here, the brown, is looking lovely. So I'm going to just give that a quick sand again, because like I was saying before, the surface can be quite rough once it dries because the grain of the wood is kind of opening up. It's swelling with the water. Now this is the board where I dinged it about, just using like a 400 grit to get that board nice. Wipe that off. Nice and smooth. We've got a little stripe happening here. Not sure what that might have been, some tape on the wood earlier, or just I think it was faded right in those spots. But as I said, this is all just an experiment to play with all the different kinds of stains you can create using Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint. Once again, I will use the beeswax on one side. Grab another cloth. Now imagine this on your beautiful tabletop that you've just sanded back to raw wood, painted some curio over the top of it, and watch the magic. Remember, I created some dings and divots and grooves in here. Look at that. Gives a gorgeous, lovely waxed finish. And there you have your stained wood. That's the colour curio. And I've also used this effect with the colour typewriter as well. Again, we'll try the hemp oil that I couldn't get opened earlier. Just dabbing that on. Oops, here we go. Hemp oil, beautiful finish again. So I've done wax on the right here. This side we've done hemp oil. Again, I will mention, if you were making a signboard right now, you would want to have already painted or stenciled your sign on here before you put your sealer on the top. And remember that all the lovely colours will show through so beautifully in the end. So here is unfinished, so that does not have a sealer in the middle. We have wax on this side and hemp oil on this side. And the difference, you can't really tell the difference, you just know that maybe the hemp oil side may end up being a little bit more matte of a finish than the wax side. But look at that lovely sheen on the wax. I don't know if you can see that in the light. Oh, can hardly tell. I'm going to write that on here again because I won't remember. Wax and hemp oil. And then this is unfinished in the centre. So see how you've got that chalky look for the unfinished look. And remember, you could use white wax, you could use zinc wax. There's another fun one. Or the antiquing wax to get a brown look. All right, over here we've got our boxwood. Now remember I said you can darken the stain, make it a little bit darker by adding another coat. So it's still a little bit wet here, but once we add our finish, you'll be able to tell this has had one coat of my stain on it using 3 parts water, 1 part powder. This one's had 2 coats of that same stain on there. So we're creating a stain today using Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint. I'm just going to put hemp oil over the top again. I'm going to put it this way. So we've got hemp oil on the top surface of the 2 coats and then up here. So see how this one, with just that 1 coat, so you can always add more layers. So this top coat over here, this coat over here just kind of looks a bit like orangey pine. It's not really looking the look that I was going for. This was the original blonde wood that it was. So adding your sealer on top, it just kind of didn't have the depth of the green that I was hoping for. So this would be great leading up to Christmas. That's my thoughts, guys. Some green or red signs that you could produce if you're a sign maker or just making for gifts for people. Using the wax now and rubbing that on the bottom section. I usually add the wax with a brush if I'm using it on furniture, but because this is a nice flat surface, so there's the 2 coats there. We'll join that up in the middle. So I've got hemp oil down the bottom and the wax up the top. And again, this is an experiment to show just the different colours you can get using stain, using this mustard seed milk paint as a stain. Allowing that wax to really penetrate in and buffing the surface. So we've got wax on this side and oil on this side, hemp oil. So down the bottom here, we've got hemp oil finish and the top wax. So that is using boxwood as a stain. Hope that colour's coming out nicely to show you there. So the last piece that I had here was the red. Now look at that, look how brilliant that is. And I think we need to play with some zinc wax and some white wax on this finish. So let us see. I think we'll divide it up a little. Don't forget, if you're from Australia, let me know because I have a prize pack here for you. Miss Mustard Seed milk paint sample, an apron, a home design doodle book, and a I Restore Stuff pen. So if you're from Australia, let me know. Cassie says, if you do 2 coats of it as a stain, does the wood grain still show? Yes, it does, Cassie, absolutely. And you can see that on this boxwood one. So this is 2 coats and you can see the wood grain perfectly through there. Same with the brown. So you're just wanting to make it as dark or as light as you want, so you can just add more colour by using the pigments or the powder to add more. Okay, using some white wax now. Oh, should I do clear wax first? I might do that just in case I've got a bit too much white wax on there. I'm just going to do this end here with a bit of clear wax. Wow, that red looks nice as a stain. Such a bright pigment, bright wax. So you can see that. Just waxed that end of the red wood. If you can imagine that on a signboard, or you tell me, what would you... Charlene says, I'd like to be from Australia. Does that count? So funny. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of white wax to that now just to show you the difference. I'll kind of divide this up a little bit. See how we've got, almost gives it a pinkish tone. Bit of white wax there. Oops, was that on in the shot? There we go, some white wax, some clear wax, and here is just our porous finish. I might add some more clear wax and we'll get a bit of zinc wax happening down this side of the board. My lint-free cloth isn't so lint-free, it seems. Okay, so here's some zinc wax. Just adding that to this part here. Oops. Look at me trying to find a piece of spare cloth. Flora from lockdown in Melbourne. Oh my goodness. Yes, you guys have been in such a big lockdown down there. Welcome. Thank you so much for watching. All right, so adding zinc wax to the red there. I'm not seeing it as well as I thought I might. I might add a little bit more and just let it sit for a minute and see if we can, that adds a nice metallic-y, kind of a shimmery, grey, gunmetal-y, my descriptive words, gunmetal-y kind of a look. I'm going to let that sit for a minute, but I don't know if you can see that difference there. There's a little bit of a grey tinge. You might see the shimmer in certain lights, but the sun's not being favourable. Okay, here is the clear wax right here, and then I've added white wax over the red board right there. So, guys, I wanted to mention too that I do have a YouTube channel. It's I Restore Stuff on YouTube. You can find me there too. And I do actually have a video tutorial. I'll show you the sample boards that I actually created on that tutorial right here. And I showed the difference between the plain red with no wax on it and then the antiquing wax, which you can kind of see the difference there of it sitting, whoops, here we go. The antiquing wax on this top one here sitting in the grooves of that piece. Let me put them side by side. So this one's the one with the antiquing wax in it. This one has none. And then white wax. Look at the difference the white wax has over the top of another coloured surface. And you can rub that back a bit more or add more onto it. And in the same YouTube video, I also give an example of if you're using Miss Mustard Seed Milk Paint over the top of a dark stain. So see, this board has been stained really dark, and this one is just the raw blonde wood. This is both just one coat of tricycle red, so the same colour will look different over different stains and finishes. So this dark stain caused the red to be quite dark, and the blonde, caused it to be a lighter colour. If I was to add 2 coats, 3 coats, 4 coats, then that colour would become more uniform and be more of the same, more in the same tones, if you know what I mean. So just be aware of that when you're painting, that you may be able to have a little bit of it, tell the difference if it's on a dark surface. All right, so there is our zinc wax, looking lovely. I'll just buff that a little bit. It does have a beautiful metallic shimmer to it. Now, if you want any Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint products and you're in Australia, you can get those from my website at irestorestuff.com, or find your local retailer anywhere in the world at missmustardseedsmilkpaint.com. Here is our white wax over the red stain, clear wax on a red stain, and zinc wax on the red stain. And this is the red stain without any finish on it at all. So that's porous, and that it won't go anywhere because milk paint on raw timber it just works very, very well on raw timber. You will find that it won't go anywhere, but you will need a sealer, to stop it wearing and all of the things. So, hi Sheila. Thank you so much for watching. So guys, I think that's about it. I was going to just show you how that dried, first of all, on the surface of here. But because I want to be doing a stencil on this, I'm thinking I'll do a stencil on that tomorrow. I'm actually an ambassador for Essential Stencil, which is a USA-based stencil company. So if you do want any stencils, they are great. You can use my code and get 10% off using the code iRestoreStuff. But I'm going to be using this tomorrow on a live for them. So I don't want to seal that right now, otherwise I won't be able to put my stencil on it. So remember that. Don't seal your piece until you're completely finished with it. If you're going to be making a sign, do your sign painting first and then do the sealing. Okay. So I hope you've enjoyed that live today. Let me pick our Australian winner here on the comments, if I can go back and have a little look-see through. Look, Flora, I have to pick you. You're in lockdown and in Melbourne, and I know how tough that's been. I've actually got 2 boys who live in Melbourne, and they've been in stage 4 lockdown for several weeks now, and I know it can get quite depressing and down for many of you. So, Flora, let me know your details. Please email me at sharon@irestorestuff.com. Reach out and send me your details, where to send it. You have won a Miss Mustard Seed Marion Parsons home design doodle book, a milk paint sachet in the colour of your choice, an I Restore Stuff pen, and of course a brochure on how to mix it and all the things, and a milk paint apron. So thank you so much everybody for watching and your lovely comments. I'm just kind of scrolling through them here. And I will see you next time, and you can catch me at I Restore Stuff on all of the things, and I've got links up in the description of the comment. You can find me on YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram. I'd love to see you over there, where I do some behind the scenes stories and things like that, and right here on Facebook, I Restore Stuff. Thank you, Miss Mustard Seeds Milk Paint, for the absolute pleasure and honour of being able to take over your feed for this live. I've enjoyed every minute, and I hope you've all learnt something about stains today. Next time, bye.